What were some times when you died inside? Farted and sneezed at the same time whilst queuing at a fast food place. Because of the sneeze, the fart shot out so fast it actually hurt my ass, so I screamed ouch as it happened. Felt like a proper CNT. In the 7th grade, I got my back to school clothes. For some reason, I thought yellow pants and a yellow Hawaiian shirt looked awesome. I was excited to wear this new outfit. We were not wealthy, so having new clothes like this was a big deal for me. Sitting in my English class, I received a note. It said, "Are you the mustard man?" and was signed by every person in the f***ing class, and as I read it, they all burst out in laughter. All of them. It's a moment in life where you have to laugh or cry, and either way you die inside. I chose to laugh. Kids are cruel. When I was 18 and at a carnival with a group of people I knew from school, including my longtime crush. At some point, people started dropping off from the group, going on rides, getting food, that kind of stuff. Eventually, it was only me, my crush, and my little sister, little as in almost 16. I kept waiting for her to leave. To go find some of her friends or whatever. After hanging out together for another 15 or so minutes, it slowly dawned on me that it wasn't him and me waiting for her to leave, but them waiting for me to leave. They shortly after became a couple for a few months. It later turned out that they got to know each other at my 18th birthday party 2 months prior. They never met before. When my sister got back later that evening, she told me that and said, "You don't mind, do you?" Full stop. I did mind. Very much. When my dad told me he was obligated to love me, but he didn't have to like me, I was 10. And I was absolutely crushed. I received a set of boxes in the mail with no return address on a Monday morning. When I opened the boxes, I started noticing stuff that is my mom's, her handwriting on notes. This seems to be some sort of care package from my mom. Was in college at the time. As I opened more, there were all these documents. I was confused. Then I found the note. My mom committed suicide but planned it all out. She sent me a list of things to take care of now that she's gone. Now I hate getting packages. I had a customer who was holding and examining an awkward, fragile, and expensive item with one hand. I asked her to please hold it with two. She turned to look at me. She only had one arm. I found a resident at my work, CNA, crying, and when asked what was wrong he responded, "I have baby brains." For some context, I work at a traumatic brain injury center. For these types of people, this is their permanent home. And coming from someone who is usually caught in a 3-sentence loop, the self-realization was something I didn't think he was capable of. Feels Bidman. In 4th grade, my school had a fundraiser around Valentine's Day where you could buy a carnation for $1 or a rose for $2. It would then be delivered with a message to the person of your choosing. I liked a boy in my class, so I decided to buy him a rose and write a note from his secret admirer. Well, I couldn't wait for the rose to be delivered, so I wrote a note and slid it under his book when he got up to go to the bathroom. His friend saw because I'm about as stealthy as an elephant on roller skates. Friend took the note, read it out loud when the boy got back. The rose came not long after. The boy took it, looked at me, snapped the rose in half, and threw it in the trash. Also, there was the recurring instance of being the target of "my friend likes you." EWWWW no I don't. Does wonders for a girl's self-esteem. Freshman year of high school. Had a crush on a girl. All year long we would flirt and talk. I was too much of a PSSY to ask, but not enough of a PSSY to leave it be. We leave for summer. I think to myself, man, good thing I didn't ask her out. That would be so embarrassing. Just me trying to justify how much of a punk I was being. Next year begins. First day back. I had class with her best friend. As she talks to the girls in the class, I overhear in a whisper. Yeah, she, crush, and ex, her new boyfriend, have been together for a week. I never thought she would give up on you now, who never asking her out. I turn and see all of them giving me the side eye. Needless to say, I died inside. It was embarrassing to say the least, and honestly a huge wake up call. Never made that mistake again. Shoot your shot. 5th grade spelling bee. I made it to the school-wide level, which was the 3rd round in. First I had to beat my own class, then beat the other 5th grade classes, and next was the whole school. My first word was biscuit. Easy. My second word was soccer. Also easy. Except for the fact that I was a bit nervous being up on stage, with the whole school in attendance, including my mom, who was there for support. It got in my head a little bit. I heard soccer and thought, okay, this is easy. Remember, there are 2 C's in soccer. 2 C's. 2 C's. Step up to the microphone. C. O. Instantly knew what I did. Facer palmed myself in front of everyone. Dead inside. Despite this realization, and the fact I had already lost, my brain kept the letters mixed up and I spelled the rest of the word. Dut. S-S-E-R. Cossa. Any Cossa fans here? Or, as you may call it in your country, buttful? Every single email after a job interview that says you meet all the requirements we ask, but unfortunately, insert whatever. When I was about 9, I was in a school assembly, all 400 students and all teachers. At our school assemblies, the students sat cross-legged on wooden floor in the sports hall. Well, I had to fart, and I assumed it would be quiet. It was not. It ended up being extremely loud and was amplified by the wooden floor. At a company event, as we left, my colleagues were nowhere to be found as I walked outside. So I waited there. Turns out they were taking a group photo without me. Interviewing a potential student who is interested in my school. He has a huge green circle around his eye. Whoa. Quite a black eye. What did you do? Once bought a bottle of Pepsi in a meal deal but didn't have space to put it in my bag. In my infinite wisdom, I decided to pour the contents into my reusable water bottle so I wouldn't have to carry both bottles. It was one of them bottles that has the straw in it and you flip the top up when you want to drink. Opened it in a little hardware store later in the day and the gas had built up in the bottle and it spurted out like a water gun all over the wall and ceiling. I was so embarrassed and tried my best to clean it up for them, but all the staff could do was laugh. One of them told me I was stood in the perfect spot for the CCTV to pick it up and he would be watching it back later. Edit. I'm so glad that it turns out I'm not the only idiot who has done something like this. Was on a Skype call for work with about 25 other people. Had the mic on my computer turned all the way up and was typing on my computer almost continuously. About 15 minutes into the meeting, someone finally IMs me to turn off my mic because nobody could hear what was being said. Oh yeah. I've also been the one who was singing to my cat while on a conference call. As a neurotic and anxious middle schooler, I decided to ask a girl to a dance. But through AIM, shout out to the late 2000s. She said yes and the majority of the class ended up finding out. Accidentally sent a picture of my tits to my family WhatsApp group instead of my guy. My mum replied by sending a recipe for Yorkshire puddings. 6th grade all-day field trip to SeaWorld Orlando. Surprise period through my white shorts. All the moms who wanted to help only had tampons. I was 11 and had no idea how to use them. There ensued an embarrassing crash course. I was devastated until random dad saved the day by giving me his windbreaker to tie around my waist and told me to go have fun. Thanks random field trip dad. You saved the day. Was on a TV quiz show and totally FK'd up. Removed. Having to repeat a clever off-the-cuff joke because the person was focusing on their phone. I've told this story before, but there was a time when I knew I was coming down with what I was sure was going to be an absolute bastard of a cold. already beginning to feel a little fuzzy in the brain. I decided to make myself some chicken soup in advance to get me through the worst of it. I chopped some carrots, chopped some onions, threw in a chicken carcass, and over the course of about 4 hours made the most bomb stock you could imagine. Then my dumbass poured it through a colander directly into the sink. It took me a good 30 seconds before I realized what I'd done. Then I just sat on the kitchen floor for about 10 minutes, gazing at the opposite wall and wishing real life had a Control-Z function. I went to an interview once where one of the two people interviewing me asked if I knew French. I said I knew core French, so they decided to conduct the interview completely in French. I can understand when someone speaks French to me. I can read and write fluently in French. But I can't for the life of me speak French. It was so bad that one of the interviewers got up and left halfway through and didn't come back. Needless to say, I didn't get the job. Edit. I was drenched in sweat by the end of it. Never forget. Edit. I'm not trying to criticize or hate on French people. It was just a sweaty situation I slipped myself into that forever changed me. I have become one with cringe. I was supposed to fill in for the coach of my son's soccer team this weekend. But plans changed. This morning I told my son I wouldn't be coaching his team on Saturday. He said, "Good." Dead inside. That time I left school while chatting to friends and spotted my mum's car. Got in said car and uttered the usual "thanks for picking me up, mum," only to realize that it was not in fact my mum's car. Being 45 minutes into a 1-hour drive to a meeting to realize you left the main reason for the meeting at home. I crochet and my old boss at work asked me for a scarf. He requested lilac, which I thought was odd. But he was super insistent and even sent me a color chart pointing out the exact shade he wanted. I bought the yarn and made him a scarf. But then ran into him and mentioned the scarf again, and he started cracking up saying he was joking. Definitely embarrassing, but I'm glad I didn't actually bring it with me and give him the scarf only to find out he was being an asshole. I wound up giving it to another co-worker who was watching the whole thing play out, and she was super appreciative. When I was about 13, my dad took me aside one night and apologized for putting so much effort into supporting my twin brother and so little into supporting me. I always assumed he was just smarter, physically more gifted. Turns out he and my mother had actively and knowingly neglected me in order to encourage my brother's achievements. Happened all through my schooling. They paid thousands for his sporting trips, and when I had the same opportunities they just didn't have the money. Still kills me inside now. Edit. Whoa. Thanks for all the support, Reddit. I'm doing well now and it really only made me a more resilient person. Was a big oof when it happened, but it made me who I am. Surprising how many twins are in the exact same situation. Edit 2. For those asking. There was no real reason given in the explanation from dad and nothing really changed after. At 13 it was the norm, and even now it's pretty standard. I still love my dad and my brother. Dad gave me more than most have, and he did it as a single parent, so I don't hold it against him. Last year a work friend of mine died. After his funeral, a large group of us went to a pub to have a few drinks in remembrance of him. Someone suggested to get a group photo of everyone there. I was asked to take the photo. It probably shouldn't have bothered me as much as it did. But it did. My girlfriend decided she liked my best friend more. Broke up with me. Tried to get with him, but he friend-zoned her right off the bat. Her best friend is a bro. Think I am late and this will get buried, but when I was in high school I used to swim competitively. So speedos, hat, etc, etc. One morning session I was running a bit late and got changed super quick and went out to the poolside with my gear getting ready for the training session. When one of the girls, who I happened to fancy at the time, informed me that one of my testicles was hanging out the side of my speedos. I thought it felt a bit breezy as I ran out the changing room, but never crossed my mind what had happened. I look back and laugh about it now, but my god, the embarrassment at the time. Once created a painting for a friend. Hung it up on the door to my apartment as a surprise. It was easily bypassed. He asked. What's with people around here? You let people push TTY vacation ads on your door? Never again. For those asking, I live in West Virginia. It was a painting of one of our favorite spots we would seek when hiking. This happened in Morgantown and it's called Blue Hole. Not really sure of the actual name of the river. He showed me the place. Lots of people go swimming there. But he knew a secret spot. It was a view from the exit of the trees of our favorite area. Honestly, a lot of people had things like that in Morgantown and around the state. Which is why I think he easily overlooked it. I did not tell him at that time. I was so embarrassed. I was glad he didn't figure it out. Eventually I did tell him when we were drunk. Yay, liquid courage, and I could see everything click in his head. He was sorry, but we've gotten past it. Setting: junior high. Status: awkward preteen. Style: liked cats. Very shy. Walked out of the school bathroom. Noticed after a bit that the popular girl in school was watching me, giving me a strange look. She then approached me and wordlessly pulled my skirt out of my underwear that I just tidily tucked in with the rest of my uniform. Then just walked away to avoid my shame, as I'd just been walking around with my panties showing. That was really nice of her. She didn't tease or mock you. She just fixed it for you. Although I totally get why you were embarrassed. I was in a busy post office with my daughter, who was a 3 at the time. I was wearing track pants and going commando. I was talking to the clerk and my daughter pulled my pants down right to my ankles. I thought I was going to die of embarrassment. The entire lineup of people behind me saw my bare ass. I guess my birthday. Since my dad died an hour before it. My uncle died the night of it, really the early morning after. And my aunt almost died on it but managed to make it another month. Separate birthday years at least. Thank you for clarifying it was different years, because I was about to say that's the most FK'd up thing I've seen so far. When I realized I lost my passion for writing and playing music and quit my bands. They both had success after I left. That was about 10 years ago. Trying to get my groove back now. Edit. No. I don't think I'm gonna tell you about them. But if you follow post-rock experimental music you may have heard of them. Successful as in the music is getting heard by a lot of people and they're touring. But they still have jobs when they're home. What area are you in? And more importantly, how long would I need you in my band before kicking you out in order to become successful? Watched Lesbian PRN and accidentally casted it onto the main TV in the living room, where my parents were watching TV on. I've always been afraid to do this. In high school, a girl next to me. Hey, do you like? Name of girl I really liked that I thought I had a chance with. UHH no. Oh okay good, because she likes this other guy named blank. When my cousin, almost brother, died from a weird disease. And all our family members who'd watched us grow up together and be inseparable would look at me with pity and silent compassion. Just made me feel worse every time. They still do it every now and then. Even though tomorrow will be 3 years since he passed. And it still makes me feel awful. Working at game in England. See a guy looking at Wii games. Go over to offer assistance as he looks a bit lost. Hi. Need a hand at all? Guy turns around. Only has one arm. No. I'm good thanks. No problem. Give a shout if you need a hand with anything. F-king twice in 10 seconds. You know, in school where you took turns reading out loud and practiced your paragraph silently before it was your turn? We were reading a book on Indian burial grounds. With my luck, I had a paragraph describing what they look like. There were large mounds shaped like breasts. I practiced it over and over in my head. Just power through it. Don't laugh. Etc. It said beasts. Picking up the body of our 3-year-old cat after a hit and run. I rescued him at a few hours old after his mother rejected him and attacked him. We bottle fed. Replaced his hot water bottle and pooped him, don't ask, every 2 hours. Including through the night. For weeks. Against all the odds. He survived to be the most loving and affectionate cat I've ever known. He was so obsessed with us because we were effectively his mummy and he was never weaned. And that morning I got the call he'd been killed by a car. I tried to pick him up. But his lifeless body was so floppy and heavy. But familiarly warm. I thought I would drop him. I will never forget that feeling. Also all the while knowing I was going to have to tell my husband and our 2 small children.